Hi, this is Alan Tribble. This is the next in my series of video clips on the topic Business Management for Scientists and Engineers. This video is on the subject Markets, Capitalism, and the Economy. By the mid-1700s, the English economy was one of the largest in the world, and the publication of Adam Smith's The Wealth of Nations in 1776 is sometimes cited as the formal start of capitalism as an economic system. Smith felt that the wealth of nations was dependent on three factors or inputs that were needed to generate output. Those were land, labor, and capital. Let's take a quick look at each of these topics. Land in this context refers to any raw material that is used to produce a product or service. We all need to eat to survive, so a crop of food that you sell to other people to eat is one example of a raw material. We'll follow that example in the next few slides, but other examples of raw materials could also be ore or oil that you mine from the earth and sell to others to process into other materials. Today, the supply chain has different tiers as shown. Each tier takes resources supplied by the level below and generates resources to be used by the level above. Of course, at the highest level, the original equipment manufacturer or OEM, delivers finished products straight to the customer. Labor in this context refers to the activities that are used to process the raw materials and transform them into a product you can sell. For example, we might have to cook our raw food to turn it into a meal. The final factor, capital, is a little more complex. In the simplest sense, it refers to all the instruments of production, the factory, the equipment, the raw materials, and so forth. In the case of our food items, it would include the kitchen, the cooking utensils, and spices required to turn the food into a meal. Note that capital is the root of the economic system known as capitalism, but that term wasn't used until the 19th century. The three factors of production, land, labor, and capital, come to bear under the guidance of a fourth factor, the entrepreneur, the individual that figures out a new way to combine those items to fill an existing need or create a new want. A chef that decides to open a new restaurant would fall into this category. What happens when you have a great idea, but not enough money to bring it to reality? You look to borrow money. Small entrepreneurs may borrow from mom and dad. Lucky entrepreneurs may go on television shows like The Shark Tank or The Profit. Large corporations go to the stock market. We'll need to look at stock markets in more detail, but first, let's define the term market. When we use the term market, imagine what we might call a farmer's market from days gone by. Buyers go to the market because they have a need to acquire some good or service. Sellers go to the market because they also have a need. In this case, a need to sell a good or service or trade it for something else of value. A market is a place, either virtual or physical, where buyers and sellers meet to conduct business. We need to distinguish between the market as a whole and your share of that market. The global market is the total worldwide demand. The addressed market is the fraction of the global market that you're actively trying to reach. For example, there's a global need for food and beverages. But if you own a restaurant on a street corner in Chicago, you're not trying to feed the world. You're just trying to feed the people in your part of Chicago. Finally, we need to understand the market share, the fraction of the people that choose to give you their business. In the case of a restaurant in Chicago, there may be 5 other restaurants within a short walk of your front door. Your market share is the fraction of the people that choose to eat at your restaurant versus all the others. As we'll see in a later slide, the market, your market share, and your margins are 3 key metrics that help determine the success of your business. Let's come back to stock markets. People meet in stock markets to buy and sell shares of stock in a company. What is stock? It's partial ownership of the company. Companies that wish to generate cash sell shares of stock in exchange for money. Investors that hope to increase their net worth buy those shares in hopes that those shares will be worth more in the future than they are today. History tells us that the first stock market was founded in Amsterdam in 1602 with the launch of the Dutch East India Company. This allowed individual investors to buy a share or fractional ownership in the company, and in essence allowed them to place bets that the value of the company would grow over time. At the time of its founding, the Dutch economy was one of the largest in the world, and the founding of the stock market helped the Dutch dominate much of the 17th century. Today there are dozens and dozens of different stock markets selling stock in tens of thousands of different companies. Two of the largest stock markets, the New York Stock Exchange and the NASDAQ, are based in the United States, but there are many others around the world as shown. In future sessions, we will look at some of the steps companies take to keep their stock prices high so that investors want to keep buying and holding them. The markets are a key element of our modern economy. Rather than try to explain to you how I think the economy works, I'd rather you hear it directly from an expert. Ray Dalio is an American billionaire who founded the world's largest hedge funds, Bridgewater Associates, in 1975. He's advised countries on economic policies, and he's got several books and videos available. If you're interested in learning more about the economy as a whole, I'd recommend you take a look at his 30-minute video, How the Economic Machine Works. Do a search for that, and it should pop right up. If you'd like any more information on any of the topics we've discussed so far, please investigate the three options shown above. First, you could buy the book. Both electronic and hard copies are available, and you can order those from your favorite bookstore or most of the major online retailers. Second, you could take the 2-day professional development class. If you'd like more information on that, please drop me an email at the address shown. Finally, you could subscribe to our new YouTube channel, BM4SE. Please tune in and look for future posts in the very near future. Thank you.